So up to this point, we've used a method mainly called box modeling, where we've taken primitive geometry or basic shapes and started to build the geometry that we need out of those shapes. And we've gotten some good results with many of those objects. But in this case, we'll look at something that is going to be a little bit different. So you could, if you wanted to, start the head with something like a cube, much like we did with the shoe, and begin to move and manipulate the points to get the shape. Now the problem comes when we try to do all these facial features and try to build in that topology that we talked about in the last lesson with the loops going around the eyes and the loops going around the mouth and everything that comes along with that. So trying to retrofit a cube which has an existing topology to a new kind of topology can be a little bit challenging. Now with a cartoon character or a stylized character that's like this, it's a little bit easier because you can do extrudes and things like that. But we can also try a different method, and that is to build the loops from scratch and then kind of fill in the gaps between. So let's start by going into the front view. Okay, so kind of coming in here. And again, we'll concentrate on one side of the model. So to start out, we can start to build the loops, because those are the kind of the specific areas that we need to actually create. So we'll go to polygons. Let's go into mesh, and let's go to the create polygon tool. I'm going to go ahead and reset this, and we can choose to keep new faces planar. We're going to have one division. If you want to limit the number of points to 4, you can do that. We want to try to maintain quads as much as possible. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at this kind of edge of the eye and kind of work my way out. And I'll start maybe down closer to the corner and come in here and start to build a single quad. Okay, so we've got one quad built in here. I'm going to kind of manipulate it a little bit from the front view, but I'm not really going to do too much yet as far as the placement of this. So now we want to build a loop of these going all the way around. So one of the things that we can do would be to use the append to polygon tool. So I'll go ahead and open that up and reset it, and I'll go ahead and leave that. I'll change the number of points to 4, and I'm going to click on this edge, and then let's go ahead and go to the top and bottom to create that next quad that's going to be next to it. I'll hit G, to repeat the process. Actually, I'm still in the append tool, so I don't need to hit that. It should stay there until we exit. So now I can come in and just clicking on the edge that I want to extend from, I can come in and add that. Again, I'm clicking on the top or the outer part first, and then the inner. Don't worry too much about the placement. If it's off a little bit, we'll be able to fix that. We just want to get the topology in. As far as the number goes, something like that is probably pretty good. And then if you want to take both of these and bridge between them, I can take that division down to 0. Now we can come in here, and we've got this loop belt, and start to move these points around. So I want the edges to define a consistent line around here. So in this case, the outside of this loop here. So I'm going to choose to place those in the appropriate spot. Alright, so something like that. I want to get some sharpness on the inside of the eye where this is coming in here, so you want to have enough resolution in there to do that. Keep in mind that this resolution is going to spread out as it comes into these larger areas, so you may think that you have too much resolution in here, but I think you're going to need it, because as you start to come in here, these lines are going to spread out a little bit, and if you have too few up here to begin with, then you're going to have these areas that are really could use a little bit more resolution. So I find that adding maybe a little bit more now is going to help with that. So let's get our loop drawn out from the front. Now if we take a look at this, it's just pretty much flat, and that's not really what we want. We want it to actually conform to the face. So this is where our other views come in. We can now go ahead and center the pivot, and we'll move it kind of up here, and then using both views we can start to place these. So looking at this, we can take both of these lines. We know they correspond with the corner of the eye, so we can go ahead and pull that back, Maybe pull that one back a little bit more. In these we can start to pull back a little bit and just start to conform this from both views as much as possible. Coming in here, we know these are going to be pushed back in. We can't really see where that is, but we'll go ahead and kind of eyeball that, figure out where that should go. Same thing here. Now we've got a little bit of a disadvantage here because we don't have the eyeball in yet, but that'll come and we'll be able to further shape this and manipulate it. So we can come in here and just start to shape this a little bit, trying to match this up from both views as much as possible. Alright, same thing down here. You can go ahead and pull this back. And same thing here. Alright. Just try to get that matched up a little bit more. Okay, now you can see it's black, so I'm going to go ahead and just reverse the normals so it's facing forward. Okay, and now you can see that if there's anything I want to create inside here, I can just go ahead, select that inner loop, extrude it, and now we've got extra geometry in here to be able to manipulate, either to create an eyelid or whatever we need to do to create that detail. Okay, so we can do the same thing with the mouth here, and if you wanted to, you could actually reuse our loop here. If you didn't want to redraw it, go ahead and take that down because it's really the same thing here. We can go ahead and get rid of part of it, and let's actually give ourselves a little bit more since this is bigger. We're only doing 1/2, so I can go ahead and start to just place these. Okay, and again, I want to stay consistent with what loop is defining what. So if this is defining the edge of the lip, I'll go ahead and make that corresponding line at the bottom define the bottom edge of the lip as well, just to keep things more organized here. Alright, we can start manipulating this. Okay, you can see his mouth extends out a little bit more, so we kind of pull this out a little bit more. We want to be able to define that. We can still add more resolution in here, whatever we need to at this point. Just trying to get that built in. Okay. We'll talk about the corner of the mouth in a little bit. But right now I just want to get this basic topology. You could use the same technique we did before with the going in and appending polygons to that. But since we already had a loop, I thought maybe we could reuse it. Alright, and just take this. You've got two views to work from, so just come in and match that up from both sides. Okay, this one has us coming in a little bit more front here. Kind of pull this up a little bit more. Okay, and you can start to get a little bit more resolution. I want to have a little bit more down here, so in the corner of the mouth, so I'll go ahead and add another one right in there. Okay, it's also a good idea in many cases to have similar, if not the same, number of points on the top and the bottom, just so that when these close and open, you're not worried about having gaps. You've got a 1-to-1 ratio. This point closes, it can meet this point, and so you've got something that closes really tight, and so that can help too. Let me go ahead and snap from the front view. I'll go ahead and snap these to the center there, and then we can continue to kind of manipulate these a little bit. One more loop that we want to create, I'll let you do that on your own, is a loop from the chin, and let's take that loop all the way up the chin in front of the ear, and let's bring it up kind of top front of the forehead. Okay, so start it here, bring it up along the chin, and let's maybe bring it up to maybe right about here. So shape something like that. You can use the same technique that we used before. Use your Create Polygon tool, and then you can go ahead and append that all the way up. Okay, so we'll come in the next lesson with this loop, and then we'll have a big loop coming from the chin to the top of the head, and we'll go from there. Okay, so go ahead and use that as practice, and then we'll come right back in the next lesson and take a look at going from here. So we'll do that next.